And I've been noticing something lately. When I'm sitting in traffic, I either can't see past the cars in front of me or the cars around me are towering over me. And it turns out there's a big reason.
This person looks really
The
familiar.
production of passenger cars like sedans and wagons for sale in the U.S. has been
We're getting very
free fall
educational
since
here.
1975. And in their place has been the steady growth in the production of SUVs. Last year, SUVs and trucks made up 80% of all new car sales. Compare that to 52% in 2011. The fact that Americans like big cars probably won't shock anyone. They are everywhere, even in my parking scarce neighborhood in Brooklyn.
Hell yeah.
But the reasons behind this transformation are more than just cultural. It all goes back to a 50-year-old policy that would kick off a huge shift in the way U.S. cars are designed. So I'm driving from my home in Brooklyn, New York to a beach in Rhode Island for a summer vacation. And along the
was Narragansett.
Brooklyn, New York to a beach in Rhode Island.
That's Gansett or whatever. That's where the beer is.
For a summer vacation. And along the way,
pickups are a lifestyle.
Why big cars took over America. New York was the 45th state to officially succumb to the takeover of SUVs and trucks in 2014, according to this Washington Post analysis. Alaska was the first state to go big car dominant in 1988. So I'm wondering if you have any advice for things I should look out for while I'm on the road.
Anywhere that you stop, count the number of SUVs versus the number of passenger
This seems like a joke.
Okay,
What should I look out for? Like, if you see a big car, report it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
You're at Costco,
5,
of course you see them.
6, 7, 8, 9.
You're literally at a store that only sells things that are big.
9, 10, 11 SUVs in a row. I think that is my new record. So once you learn about how much big cars dominate the road, it's like you can't unsee it.
She's like, problem
People have lots
solved.
of reasons for choosing a big car, and certainly the infrastructure in the U.S. supports that choice. Unlike a lot of other countries, our built environment revolves around
Infrastructure.
cars. We have wide roads and wide, plentiful parking spaces, and homes with plenty.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'd say the
I
majority of
arrived in
people have
Connecticut,
big cars.
A state that succumbed
Because a
to light
RAV4
truck
would be one.
dominance in 2016, and pulled into a rest stop where I interviewed Thomas Bochenek. He was on a cross-country road trip with his wife.
It's very comfortable, okay, to drive. Well, I think the bigger the car, the more you have a feeling of security. You know, the smaller the car,
Hell yeah, brother.
the more likely I think about getting into an accident and being hurt. It has no trouble pulling this almost 7,000-pound trailer.
Science.
In other countries, one deterrent for big cars is that they cost so much to fill up with gas. But due to low taxes on gas in the US, fuel is extremely cheap compared to other countries. But there's another overlooked bias towards big cars related to why SUVs exist in the first place. In the 1970s, there was a shortage of foreign oil in the US.
1973 dramatized U.S. dependence on foreign oil.
So the US government set rules for automakers to start making cars more fuel efficient to lessen our dependence on the whims of the global oil market. By 1985, new cars had to get 27.5 miles per gallon, or roughly double their fuel efficiency.
Wait, really?
These new rules applied to cars like sedans and station wagons under a category known as passenger cars. But there were types of vehicles the U.S. government exempted from these rules, things like pickup trucks.
Of
which everyday
course.
drivers weren't really
Of
driving at
course.
the time.
And the idea was, if these are working vehicles used by, farmers, construction crews, companies that are hauling freight, those vehicles need to be able to do their job without being choked by emissions controls and without being held to unrealistic fuel economies.
Yeah, 28
So
miles per
passenger cars
gallon.
got one set
It's
of strict
high.
rules, and this other category, called light trucks, got another set of more relaxed standards. This regulation created an
That's
incentive
still
for
high.
car makers to transform light trucks into a vehicle for everyday use. Put in a radio, lots of cargo space, and comfy seats, and voila, that's how we got the SUV.
Okay, girls, we're off in our new Jeep Cherokee.
Because behind that classic appearance, it's rugged and powerful.
An automaker needs to spend less money and less time on fuel economy and emissions improvement if they're making and selling an SUV, because it falls under a category that is less stringently regulated.
We had the Wagoneer, but it was very low volume, very bespoke, very expensive. So only a very few people bought it. People that lived in Manhattan would go to the Hamptons or go to northern New York State to go skiing. And that's how the SUV started off life.
This is Ralph Gilles, head of design at Stellantis, a conglomerate of car companies that includes Jeep. One of the early SUVs was the Chevy Blazer, built on the frame of the Chevy S10
hell yeah,
truck.
the Blazer.
This is the traditional definition of an SUV, if it was built on the frame of a truck. And to meet the legal definition of a light truck,
Yeah, they
it had
actually
to have
do
some
look really
clearance
cool.
angles and dimensions just right.
Taking a utilitarian
'Cause they look like
vehicle and turning
wagons.
it into a almost a premium luxury device that happened to be utilitarian. Then comes the Grand Cherokee.
The Jeep Grand Cherokee was built the way passenger cars are, in one piece, or unibody. These two types of car constructions, frame-based and unibody, today form the distinction between traditional SUVs and the new, increasingly popular category of crossover.
I did not know that.
Efficiently packaged, you don't have the frame.
The Grand Cherokee was part of the early success story of SUVs in the 90s
RAV4.
and 2000s, one that continues today. This bias towards light trucks is why a company like Volkswagen, which once sold primarily passenger cars, has discontinued a lot of them today, like the Passat, in favor of SUVs.
Hell yeah. Lindsay, thank you for the 39 months. And yes, you can. You should be more than fine.
And crossovers, and they've stopped producing all of their wagons.
Is the Kia Seltos a crossover and SUV? I don't know, actually. I'm assuming it's a crossover.
Including the Jetta wagon.
Oh, it's a mistake. I'm sorry. Yeah. Correct, Cooter. It's a mistake.
And a company like Ford has stopped producing all of their passenger cars except for the iconic Mustang. Okay, I'm going to see if anyone at this car dealership will talk to me.
Buick was always car, really. That was mostly sedans, and then just with.
You are. I'm sorry, but you are like interviewing the wrong people for this. Like, let me go to a car dealership and see if the general manager can tell me all about this.
We actually don't even sell a Buick sedan anymore. They don't even make a Buick sedan. It's all crossovers.
When was the last time you guys carried like a Buick passenger car?
It was like 3 or 4
This is
years
really
ago.
getting hands-on over here at the Buick dealership.
Like 1 to 100 of SUVs. We're here to sell cars, but we want to sell what people want. If they were here and people didn't want them, I'm glad they're not here anymore, you know?
So this chart starts to make a lot more sense. 1975 was the year these fuel economy standards for sedans and wagons were passed, the same ones that didn't apply.
Did they get
to
walked
SUVs
back?
and trucks.
Those
It's a
fuel standards?
bit of a chicken and egg thing, because the automakers have been marketing SUVs more preferentially than passenger cars. They've been putting more research and development into creating more models that fit into the SUV category. And they've made it so that it's an easier decision to get into an SUV than it is to get into a passenger car.
As of 2016, our fuel economy standards shifted. Vehicles are still separated by the stricter standard for passenger cars and looser standard for light trucks. But within those categories, there are more breakdowns.
Oh, there's a nice, fun,
Regulators
long
multiply
explanation
a
about
car's
environmental
wheelbase
emission
length by its
standards.
width to get a footprint. And larger cars within
Let's
each category
say-
get weaker rules. That means that car makers are not only incentivized to phase out passenger cars in their fleet, but they are pushed to make each category bigger. The Toyota Camry got both longer and wider, and the Toyota RAV4 did too. I've now reached Rhode
Interesting.
Island,
I didn't know that.
the very last state in the country.
Still
to go
standard that
light
all
truck
passenger
dominant.
cars are required
We
to
have
meet.
started the inevitable transition to electric vehicles, but
You're still talking about a larger vehicle with higher ground clearance that's heavier and taller. It's still going to be less energy efficient, whether it's an electric car or an internal combustion powered car.
one sobering impact of big cars is the threat it poses to pedestrians. One study found that replacing the growth in SUVs with cars would have averted over 1,000 pedestrian deaths. People on foot get hit higher and in more vulnerable regions when hit by an SUV or a truck rather than a passenger.
College degree in environmental science.
Before hitting the
Nice.
beach, I stopped at my friend Kevin Wright's house. He's bucked the SUV trend and drives a Honda Fit, a car that was discontinued in 2020.
We had our daughter about 17 months ago.
Honda Fit
Just
was
kind of
killed to
making
COVID.
Sure that everybody has enough space to be comfortable as well as being safe. It gets good gas mileage.
I dig the Honda Fit.
Long term, you know,
I was
change is happening. What can we
originally
do
gonna
to
buy that as
minimize our
my
carbon
very
footprint as
first
much
car.
as we can. So we were thinking about a second car, you know, maybe getting an SUV in that situation, but ultimately decided to kind of go the other direction and got an e-bike.
You have arrived.
I have an e-bike. I love my e-bike.
Even though we're in Rhode Island, which was the last holdout for SUV dominance, there
Oh,
is
Ruthen,
still
you got a
a
Fit?
lot of
Nice.
SUVs here. I'm curious if you think
They're
there's any
super
political
cool.
will or urgency to change this trend towards bigger cars.
You know, that's something that's that has environmental concerns.
My e-bikes
something that has
feel.
economic concerns with how much we are reliant on oil.
I wish I had an e-bike. I only have an e-girl. Papa Jack John, what
It
an
also
entrance.
has to do
Hello.
with safety, you know, pedestrian safety, cyclist safety. So there is a desire among younger people and more politically active people.
Sorry, you have an
to try to
e-boy
make
too.
it so that an SUV is not the default vehicle choice for American families.
The US is unlikely to become a small car country anytime soon. But this dramatic transition to big cars wasn't just about consumer choice. It was enabled by policy choice. So if we want our roads to look different, we could try and start there.
All right. Oh, no, I don't want Vox page. Not gonna lie, this video, like, it was just kind of funny though, because it was like, look, I'm gonna go hands-on and I'm gonna go travel around the world. All right, what you ended up doing was you pulled into a Costco and you counted how many big vehicles there were, and then you went to a Buick dealership and interviewed a general manager. Doing great shit over there, Vox. Good job. Good job. Really killing it.